Now, Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachari Satarini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here's Caitanya Caritamrta. I'm going to a new chapter, the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya from the Adi Lila. Chapter 14. Summary. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a summary of this chapter in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya. In the 14th chapter, there's a description of how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed his childhood pastimes, crawling, crying, eating dirt, and giving intelligence to his mother, favoring a Brahmana guest, riding on the shoulders of two thieves and misleading them to his own house, and on the plea of being diseased, taking prasadam in the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on Ekadasi. The chapter further describes how he displayed himself as a naughty boy, how when mother fainted he brought a coconut to her on his head, how he joked with girls of the same age on the banks of the Ganges, how he accepted worshipable paraphernalia from Srimati Lakshmi Devi, how he sat down in a garbage pit and instructed his mother in transcendental knowledge, how he left the pit on the order of his mother, and how he dealt with his father in full affection. Text 1. Katanchana smrite yasmin duskaram sukaram bhavet vismrite viparitam shat Shri Chaitanyam namami tam. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances. Purport in his book Caitanya Caritamrta, Prabodhananda Saraswati says, one who receives a little favor from the Lord becomes so exalted that he does not care even for liberation, which is sought after by many great scholars and philosophers. Similarly, a devotee of Lord Chaitanya considers residence in the heavenly planets a will-o'-the-wisp. He surpasses the perfection of mystic yoga power because for him the senses are like snakes with broken fangs. The snake is very fearful and dangerous animal because of his poison fangs, but if these fangs are broken, the appearance of a snake is no cause for fear. The yoga principles are meant to control the senses, but there is no scope for the senses of one engaged in the service of the Lord to be dangerous like snakes. These are gifts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Hari Bhakti Vilas confirms that difficult things become easy to understand if one remembers Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and easy things become difficult to understand if one forgets him. We actually see that even those who are very great scientists, in the eyes of the general public, cannot understand the very simple idea that life comes from life, because they do not have the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They defend the false understanding that life comes from matter, although they cannot prove that this is a fact. Modern civilization, therefore, progressing on the basis of this false scientific theory, is simply creating problems to be solved by so-called scientists. The author of Caitanya Caritamrta takes shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to describe the pastimes of his appearance as a child, because one cannot write such transcendental literature by mental speculation. One who writes about the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be especially favored by the Lord. Simply by academic qualifications, it is not possible to write such literature. So when we try to speak anything about Krishna, we need to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya. If we try to do Sankirtan, we're trying to convince people. The most important thing is to take shelter of the Lord and beg for His mercy. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhura Kahile E Janma Lila Sutra, Yashoda Nandana Yaiche Haila Sachi Putra. I have thus described in brief the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has appeared as the son of Mother Sachi, exactly as Krishna appeared the son of Mother Yashoda. Purport. Srila Narottam Das Thakur confirms his statement that now Lord Krishna, the son of Mother Yashoda, has appeared again as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, becoming the son of Mother Sachi. Vrajendra Nandana Ye Sachi Sutta Hoile Se Balarama Hoilonika. The son of Sachi is none other than the son of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. And Nityananda Prabhu is the same Balaram. Samchepe Kohila Janma Lila Anukrama Ebe Kahi Bala Lila Sutra Ganana. Excuse me, medicine. I've already briefly spoken about the pastimes of his birth in chronological order. Now I'll give you a synopsis of the childhood pastimes. Vande Krishna Chaitanyasya Vande Chaitanya Krishnasya Balya Lilam Manoharam Lokikim Api Tam Isha Chestaya Valitantaram. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to the childhood pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna himself. Although such pastimes appear exactly like those of an ordinary child, they should be understood as various pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, this statement is confirmed as follows. Avajananti mamudha manisim tanam ashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in this human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. And the Mayavadis just say it's not really Krishna, it's some kind of illusion, and it's not Krishna speaking, it's something else far beyond him. Because they think everything is ultimately not a person. To execute his pastimes, the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears on this planet or within this universe like an ordinary human being or human child. Yet he maintains the superiority as the Supreme Lord. Krishna appeared as a human child, but his uncommon activities, even in his childhood, like killing of the demon Putana and lifting Govardhan Hill, were not an engagement of an ordinary child. Similarly, although the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, as they will be described in this chapter, appear like the activities of a small boy, they are uncommon pastimes, impossible for a human being, child, to execute. Balya Lilaya Age Prabhura Utana Shayana Pita Mataya Dekila China Charana. In his first childhood pastimes, the Lord turned upside down while lying on his bed, and thus he showed his parents the marks of his lotus feet. Purport. The word Utana is also used to mean lying down on the bed face upward, or lying down flat on the bed. In some readings, the word Utana, which means standing up, in his childhood, the word is Utana, which means standing up. But here it's different, spelled different. In his childhood pastimes, the Lord tried to catch the wall and stand up, but as an ordinary child falls down, the Lord also fell down and again took to lying on his bed. Grihe Dui Jana Deki Lagu Pada China Tahe Shobe Dvaja Vajra Shanka Chakra. When the Lord tried to walk in his small footprints, the specific marks of Lord Vishnu were visible, namely the flag, thunderbolt, conch, and disc, and fish. Dekhiya Donhara Chite Janmila Vismaya Kara Pada China Gare Napaya Nischaya. Seeing all these marks, neither his father nor his mother could understand these footprints, whose footprints they were. Thus, struck with wonder, they could not understand how those marks could be possible in their home. Mishra Kahe, Bala Gopal, Ache Shila Sange, Tenho Murti, Haya Gare, Kele Jani Range. Jagannath Mishra said, certainly child Krishna is with the Shalagram Shila. Taking his childhood form, he is playing within the room. Purport. When the form of the Lord is carved from wood, stone, or any other element, is to be understood that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is there. Even logically, we can understand that all material elements are expansions of the energy of the Lord. Since the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is non-different from his personal body, the Lord is always present in his energy, and he manifests himself on account of the ardent desire of a devotee. Since the Lord is supremely powerful, it is logical that he can manifest himself in his energy. Deity worship, or worship of the Shalagram Shila, is not idol worship. The deity of the Lord in the house of a pure devotee can act exactly as he can in his original transcendental personality. Se chane jagi nimai koraye krandana anke laya sachi tanre paila stana. While Mother Sachi and Jagannath Mishra were talking, child Nimai woke up and began to cry, and Mother Sachi took him on her lap and allowed him to suck her breast. Stana piyate putrara charana dekila se china paye deki mishra balo balaila. When Mother Sachi was feeding the child from her breast, she saw on his lotus feet all the marks that were visible in the room and the floor, and she called for Jagannath Mishra. Dekhiya Mishvera Haila Anandita Mati Gupte Bolaila Nilambara Chakravarti. When Jagannath Mishra saw the wonderful marks on the soul of his son, he became very joyful and privately called for Nilava Chakravarti. Chinadeki Chakravarti Balina Hastya Lagna Gani Purveyami Raki Yache Lekiya. When Vishwanath Chakravarti saw these marks, when Nilambar Chakravarti saw these marks, he smilingly said, formerly I have sustained by all this astronomical calculation and noted it in writing. There are 32 bodily marks that symptomize a great personality. I see all these marks on the body of this child. Pancha Dirga Pancha Sukshma Sapta Rakta Sad Unmata Sri Hashra Pritu Gambiro Dwar Trim Sal Lakshano Mahan. So that's the Sanskrit. There are 32 bodily symptoms on the great personality. 5 on his bodily parts are large, 5 are fine, 7 reddish, 6 raised, 3 small, 3 broad, and 3 grave. Purport. The 5 large parts are the nose, arms, chin, eyes, and knees. The five parts are the fingertips, teeth, hair on the body, and hair on the head. The 7 reddish parts are his eyes, soles, palms, palate, nails, and upper and lower lips. The 6 raised parts are the chest, shoulders, nails, nose, waist, and mouth. The 3 small parts are the neck, thighs, and male organ. The 3 broad parts are the waist, forehead, and chest. The 3 grave parts are the navel, voice, and existence. Although these are 32 symptoms of a great personality, this is quoted from the Samudrika. Narayanara China Yukta Shihasta Charana E Shishu Sarvaloke Koribacharana. This baby has all the symptoms of Lord Narayan on his palms and soles. He will be able to deliver all the 3 worlds. Eta Koribe Vaishnava Dharmara Prachar Iha Haite Habe Dui Kulera Nistar. The child will preach the Vaishnava cult and deliver both his maternal and paternal families. Purport: only Narayan himself or his bona fide representative can preach the cult of Vaishnavism, or devotional service. When a Vaishnava is born, he delivers both his maternal and paternal families simultaneously. Mahotsava Karasaba Bolaha Brahmana Ajidina Bala Koriba Nama Karana. I propose to perform a name-giving ceremony. We should observe the festival and call for the Brahmanas because the day is very auspicious. Purport: it is a Vedic principle to observe a festival in connection with Narayan and the Brahmanas. Giving the child a particular name is among the purificatory processes known as Dasa Vida Samskar, and on the day of such a ceremony, one should observe a festival by worshipping Narayan and distributing prasadam, chiefly among the Brahmanas. While Nilambar Chakravarti, Sachimata, and Jagannath Mishra understood from the marks on the Lord's lotus feet that the child Nimai was not an ordinary child, but an incarnation of Narayan, they decided that on the very same day, which was very auspicious, they should observe a festival for his name-giving ceremony. In this connection, we can particularly see how an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of God is ascertained by his bodily symptoms, his activities, and the prediction of the Shastras. By factual evidence, a person can be accepted as an incarnation of God, not whimsically or by the votes of rascals and fools. There have been many imitation incarnations in Bengal since the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. But any impartial devotee or learned man can understand Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu was accepted as an incarnation of Krishna, not on the basis of popular votes, but by evidence from the Shastras and bona fide scholars. It was not ordinary men who accepted Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the beginning of his identity was ascertained by learned scholars like Nilambara Chakravarti. Later, all his activities were confirmed by the 6 Goswamis, especially Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami, and many other learned scholars, with evidence from the Shastra. An incarnation of God is such from the very beginning of his life. It is not that by performing meditation one can become an incarnation of God all of a sudden. Such foolish incarnations are meant for fools and rascals, not for sane men. Sarvalokara Karibe Ihan Dharana Poshana Vishwambara Nama Inhar Eta Karana. Is this showing right side up? Or do you have to turn your phone? According to the camera here, I'm on the right side up. Vishwambara Nama Ihar Eta Karana. In the future, this child will protect and maintain all the world. For his reason, he is to be called Vishwambara. Purport. Chaitanya Bhagavat confirms that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his birth, has made the whole world peaceful. As in the past, Narayan protected this earth with his incarnation as Varaha because of his maintaining the world. In the present Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Vishwambara, which refers to one who feeds the entire world. The movement inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was present 500 years ago is again being propagated all over the world, and factually we are seeing its practical results. People are being saved, protected, and maintained by this Hare Krishna movement. Thousands of followers, especially Western youths, are taking part in this Hare Krishna movement, and how safe and happy they feel can be understood from the expression of gratitude in their hundreds and thousands of letters. The name Vishwambara is also mentioned in the Atharva Veda Samhita 3.3.16.5. Atharva Veda Samhita. Vishwambara Vishvena Ma Bara Sa Pahi Swaha Shuni Sachi Matra Mishwara Mane Ananda Badila Brahmana Brahmani Ani Mahotsava Kaila. After hearing Nilambar Chakravarti's prediction, Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra observed the name-giving ceremony with great joy, inviting all the Brahmins and their wives. This is the Vedic system to observe all kinds of festivals, including birthday festivals, marriage festivals, name-giving festivals, and festivals marking the beginning of education by especially inviting Brahmanas. In every festival, the Brahmanas are to be fed first, and when the Brahmanas are pleased, they bless the festival by chanting Vedic mantras or the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Tabe kata dine prabhu janu chankramana nana chamatkara tata karaila darshana. After some days, the Lord began to crawl on his knees, and he caused various wonderful things to be seen. Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that one day, while the Lord was crawling on his knees, the bells on his waist ringing very sweetly, a snake came out to crawl in the yard of the Lord, who captured the snake like a curious child. Immediately the snake coiled over him. The Lord as a child then rested on the snake, and after some time the snake went away, leaving the Lord aside. Kranda Nera Chale Balila Harinam Nari Saba Hari Bale Hase Goradam. The Lord caused all the ladies to chant the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the plea of his crying, and while they chanted, the Lord would smile. In Chaitanya Bhagavat, this pastime is described as follows. The Lord, with his beautiful eyes, would cry, but he would stop immediately upon hearing the Mahamantra, Hare Krishna. When the ladies, understanding the fun of the Lord, discovered that he would cry and then stop upon hearing the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, they all took it as a clue to chant Hare Krishna as soon as the Lord cried. Thus it became a regular function. The Lord would cry, and the ladies would begin chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, clapping their hands. In this way, all the ladies of the neighboring houses would assemble in the home of Sachimata and join in the Sankirtan movement 24 hours a day. As long as the ladies continued to chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the Lord would not cry, but would very pleasingly smile on them. Tabe kata dine kaila pada Chankramana Shishugane Mili Kaila Vivida Kailana. After some days, the Lord began to move his legs and walk. He mixed with other children and exhibited various sports. Ekadina Sachikai Sandesha Aniya Bata Bari Diya Baila Kahota Basiya. One day, while the Lord was enjoying his playful sports with his other children, Mother Sachi brought a dish filled with fused rice and sweetmeats and asked the child to sit down and eat them. Eta Bali Gela Sachi Grihe Karma Kadite Lukana Lagila Shishu Mritika Kaite. But when she returned to her household duties, the child hid from his mother and began to eat dirt. You see the similarities between Krishna's pastimes. Devotees that like to discuss that. Deki Sachi Dana Aila Kari Haya Haya Mati Kari Lana Kahe Mata Mati Kene Kaya. Seeing this, Mother Sachi hastily returned and exclaimed, "What is this? What is this?" She snatched the dirt from the hands of the Lord and inspired why he was eating it. Kandiya Balena Shishu Kene Hara Rosha. Tumi Mati Kaite Dila Mora Kiba Dosha. Crying, the child inquired from his mother, "Why are you angry? You already have given me dirt to eat. What is my fault?" Kai Sandesha Ana Yateka Matira Vikara Eho Mati Seha Murti Mati Kibeda Vichara. I used fused rice, sweetmeats, and all other edibles are but transformations of dirt. This is dirt and that is dirt. Please consider what is the difference between them. Mati Deha Mati Baksha Dekana Vichare Avichare Deha Dosha Kibalite Pari. This body is a transformation of dirt, and the edibles are also a transformation of dirt. Please reflect upon this. You are blaming me without consideration. What can I say? Because the plants grow out of the dirt. But he's preaching Mayavadi philosophy to test his mother. Purport. This is explanation of the Mayavadi philosophy, which takes everything to be one. The necessities of the body, namely eating, sleeping, and mating, and defending, are all unnecessary in spiritual life. When one is elevated on the spiritual platform, there are no more bodily necessities. In activities pertaining to the bodily necessities, there are no spiritual considerations. In other words, the more we eat, sleep, and have sex and try to defend ourselves, the more we engage in the material activities. Unfortunately, Mayavadi philosophers consider devotional activities to be bodily activities. They cannot understand the simple explanation of Bhagavad Gita 14:26. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatit joitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Anyone who engages in spiritual devotional service without motivation, rendering such service, excuse me, I have to go for a minute. Hopefully.
This one has a last one.
Okay, I'm back. Although Mayapata philosophers are very eager to merge into the Brahman effulgence, they have no Brahman activities. To a certain extent, they recommend Brahman activities, which for them means engagement in studying the Vedanta and Sankhya philosophies, but their interpretations are but dry speculation. Lacking the varieties of spiritual activity, they cannot stay for long on that platform of simply studying Vedanta or Sankhya. Life is meant for varieties of enjoyment. The living entity is by nature full of enjoying spirit. As stated in the Vedanta Sutra, Anandomayo Vyasat. In devotional service, the activities are variegated and full of enjoyment. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, all devotional activities are easy to perform, susukam kartam, and are eternal and spiritual, avyayam. Since Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they take it for granted that a devotee's activities, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada, Sevanam, are all material and therefore Maya. They also consider Krishna's advent in the universe and his activities to be Maya. Therefore, because they consider everything Maya, they are known as Mayavadis. Actually, any activities performed favorably for the satisfaction of the Lord, under the direction of the spiritual master, are spiritual. But for a person to disregard the order of the spiritual master and act by concoction, accepting his nonsensical activities to be spiritual, is Maya. One must achieve the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the mercy of the spiritual master. Therefore, one must first please the spiritual master, and if he is pleased, then we should understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also pleased. But if the spiritual master is displeased by our actions, they are not spiritual. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti confirms, Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadana gati katopi. Activities that please the spiritual master must be considered spiritual, and they should be accepted as satisfying to the Lord. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the Supreme Spiritual Master, instructed his mother about Mayavad philosophy by saying that the body is dirt and eatables are also dirt. He implied that everything is Maya. This is Mayavad philosophy. And philosophy of the Mayavadis is defective because it maintains that everything is Maya, but the nonsense they speak. They think whatever they speak is not Maya, but everything else is. While saying that everything is Maya, the Mayavad philosopher loses his opportunity of devotional service, therefore his life is doomed. Sri Chaitanya therefore advised, Mayavadi Bhasya Shunilehaya Sarvanash. Madhya 6.169. If one accepts the Mayavad philosophy, his advancement is doomed forever. Antare Vismita Sachi Balila Tahare Mati Kaite Jnana Yoga Ki Shikala Tore. Astonished that the child was speaking Mayavad philosophy, Mother Sachi replied, Who has taught you this philosophical speculation that justifies eating dirt? Purport. In the philosophical discourse between the mother and the son, when the son said that everything is one, as impersonalists say, the mother replied, If everything is one, why do people in general not eat dirt, but eat food grains produced from the dirt? Matira vikara ana kaile deha pushti haya, mati kaile roga haya, deha yaya chaya. Replying to the Mayavadi idea of the child philosopher, Mother Sachi said, My dear boy, if we eat earth transformed into grain, our body is nourished and it becomes strong. But if we eat dirt in its crude state, the body becomes diseased instead of nourished, and thus is destroyed. matira vikara gate pani bari ani mati pinde dari yabe shoshi yaya pani. In the water pot, which is a transformation of dirt, I can bring water very easily. But if I poured water on a lump of dirt, the lump would soak up the water, and my labor would be useless. These are very simple arguments, but they throw the whole Mayavadi philosophy out. Purport. The simple philosophy propounded by Sachimata, even though she is a woman, can defeat the Mayavadi philosophers who speculate on oneness. The defect of Mayavadi philosophy is that it does not accept the variety that is useful for practical purposes. Sachimata gave the example that although an earthen pot and a lump of dirt are basically one, for practical purposes the water pot is useful, whereas the lump of dirt is useless. Sometimes scientists argue that matter and spirit are one. Yeah, another 10 minutes. Cover it. Nuts is later. Okay. This is later. Sometimes scientists argue that matter and spirit are one, with no difference between them. Factually, in a higher sense, there's no difference between matter and spirit, but one should have the practical knowledge that matter, being inferior state of existence, is useless for our spiritual, blissful life, whereas spirit, being a finer state, is full of bliss. In this connection, the Bhagavatam gives the example that dirt and fire are practically one and the same. From the earth grows trees, and from their wood comes fire and smoke. Nevertheless, for heat we can utilize the fire, but not the earth, smoke, or wood. Therefore, for the ultimate realization of the goal of life, we are concerned with the fire of the spirit, not the dull wood of or earth of matter. Atma lukaite prabhu balila tanhare age kena iha mata na shikale more. The Lord replied to his mother, "Why did you conceal self-realization by not teaching me this practical philosophy in the beginning?" Purport. It is from the beginning of life one is taught, if from the beginning of life one is taught Vaishnava philosophy of duality or variety, the Mosaic philosophy will not bother him very much. In reality, everything is an emanation from the Supreme Source. Janmad yasya yataha. The original energy is exhibited in varieties. Exactly as the sunshine, the original energy emanating from the sun exhibits itself as a variety of heat and light. One cannot say that light is heat or that heat is light, yet one cannot separate one from the other. Therefore, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is achintya beda beda, inconceivable non-separation and distinction, simultaneously one and different. Although there is an affinity between the two physical manifestations of light and heat, there is also a difference between them. Similarly, although the whole cosmic manifestation is the Lord's energy, the energy is nevertheless exhibited in varieties of manifestations. Ebe se janilan ara mati na kaiba chuda lagi yabe tabe tomara stana piba. Now I can understand this philosophy. No more shall I eat dirt. Whenever I'm hungry, I shall suck your breast and drink your breast milk. Eta bali jananira kolete chadiya stana pana kare prabhu ishat hasya. After saying this, the Lord, smiling slightly, climbed in the lap of his mother and sucked her breast. Emate nana chale aishwarya de kaya balya bhava prakatiya paschat lukaya. Thus, under various excuses, the Lord exhibited his opulences as much as possible. In his childhood and later, after exhibiting such opulences, he hid himself. Atiti viprara ana kaila tina bar pache gupte se vipre korila nischar. On one occasion, the Lord ate the food of a Brahmin guest 3 times, and later, in confidence, the Lord delivered that Brahmin from material engagement. Purport. The story of the deliverance of the Brahmin is as follows. A Brahmana who was touring all over the country, traveling from one place of pilgrimage to another, reached Navadvip and became a guest in the house of Jagannath Mishra. Jagannath Mishra gave him the ingredients for cooking, and the Brahmana prepared his food, because those kind of Brahmins, they only eat their own cooking. When the Brahmana was offering the food to Lord Vishnu in meditation, child Nimai came before him and began to eat it. And because of this, the Brahmana thought the whole offering had been spoiled. Therefore, by the request of Jagannath Mishra, he cooked for a second time. But while he was meditating, the child again came before him and began to eat the food, again spoiling the offering. By the request of Jagannath Mishra, the Brahmana cooked for a third time. But this time, the Lord came before him and began to eat the food, although the child had been locked within a room and everyone was sleeping because it was late at night. Thus, thinking that on that day Lord Vishnu was not willing to accept his food and that he was therefore ordained to fast, the Brahmana became greatly agitated and cried aloud, "Haya, Haya, what has been done? What has been done?" When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Brahman in that agitated state, he told him, "Formerly I was a son of Mother Yasoda. At that time also you became a guest in the house of Nanda Maharaj, and I disturbed you in this way. I am very much pleased by your devotion. Therefore I am eating the food you have prepared." Understanding the favor offered to him by the Lord, and the Brahmana was greatly pleased, and he was overwhelmed with love of Krishna. He was thankful to the Lord, for he felt himself greatly fortunate. Then the Lord asked the Brahmana not to disclose this incident to anyone else. This pastime is very elaborately described in the Caitanya Bhagavat Adi Kanda, chapter 5. He would come and he'd say, "Well, you're calling Gopal." He was worshipping Gopal. "And so I'm coming. What's the problem?" And everybody thought, this is a naughty boy. This last time, he didn't want to cook. It was like midnight or something. But Vishwarupa, the older brother, begged him to please cook because they're guests in the house. And then Lord Chaitanya showed that he's Krishna to this Brahmana. But he told him, "Don't tell anybody or you'll die." Chare lana gela prabhuke bahire paiya tara skande chari aila tare bola iliya. In his childhood, the Lord was taken away by 2 thieves outside his home. The Lord, however, got up on the shoulders of the thieves and while they were thinking they were safely carrying the child to rob his ornaments, the Lord misled them, and thus instead of going to their home, the thieves came back to the home of Jagannath Mishra. In his childhood, the Lord was profusely decorated with gold ornaments. Once upon a time, when the Lord was playing outside his house, 2 thieves passing on the street saw the opportunity to rob him. Therefore they took him on their shoulders, pleasing him by offering him some sweetmeats. The thieves thought they would carry the child to the forest and kill him and take away the ornaments. Wow. The Lord, however, expanded his illusory energy upon the thieves, and it's much so that they, instead of carrying him to the forest, they came right back to the front of his house. When they came before the house, they became afraid because everyone from the house of Jagannath Mishra and all the inhabitants of that quarter were busy searching for the child. Therefore the thieves, thinking it dangerous to remain, went away and left him. The child was brought within the house and given to Mother Sachi, who was in great anxiety, and she became satisfied. This incident is also described elaborately in the Adi Kanda of the Caitanya Bhagavat, 3rd chapter. Vyadi Chale Jagadisha Hiranya Sadane Vishnu Naiveda Kaila Ekadasi Dine. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asked for some food from the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on Ekadasi. Purport. The Caitanya Bhagavat Adi Kanda 6 fully describes the Lord's accepting Vishnu Prasad on the Ekadasi day in the house of Jagannath and Hiranya. Regular prasadam is offered to Lord Vishnu on Ekadasi because although fasting is recommended for the devotees on Ekadasi, it is not recommended for Lord Vishnu. Once on Ekadasi, in the house of Jagadish and Hiranya Pandit, there were arrangements for preparing special prasadam for Lord Vishnu, and Lord Chaitanya asked his father to go there and ask for the Vishnu Prasad because he was feeling sick. The house of Jagadish and Hiranya Pandit was situated about 2 miles from the house of Jagannath Mishra. On the request of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, therefore, when Jagannath Mishra, on the request of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to ask Jagadish and Hiranya for some prasadam, they were a little astonished. How could the boy understand that special prasadam was being prepared for Lord Vishnu? They immediately concluded that Nimai must be supernatural mystic power. Otherwise, how could he understand that they were preparing special prasadam? Therefore, they immediately sent the food to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through his father Jagannath Mishra. Nimai was feeling sick, but immediately after eating the Vishnu prasadam, he was cured. He also distributed the prasadam amongst his playmates. Jai. So we'll end there. Hope to be back tomorrow. I hope everybody's having a good Gita Jayanti. And reading the Bhagavad Gita or distributing it or something, or both. It's a very auspicious day to do that. Jai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.